Is GMO good or bad? With all the debate around this topic, you might still be wondering, what is the real truth behind this? If that sounds like you, then you are in the right video. I'm here to answer that question in today's video, so let's get started. Hi, I'm Dr. Kelly Shockley, Doctor of Cause Chiropractic, board certified in sports medicine and specialized in clinical nutrition. In this video, we're going to get clarity on the why behind GMO crops. You'll be shocked at who is actually benefiting from this. Then we'll cover the hidden dangers around consuming GMO crops. They've been deemed quote unquote safe by our FDA, but ultimately they don't know the long-term effects. And finally, I will be sharing with you the best way to identify GMO foods and the change that is going to be coming to us January 2022 that should make this at least a little bit easier. Let's get started. All right, we need to gain some clarity on the actual why behind these GMO crops. Now, first off, if you don't know or you've forgotten what GMO stands for, it means genetically modified organism. And ultimately, there's a lot of different reasons as to why farmers specifically have been doing this. Part of this is to speed up the process of what they would call selective breeding, where over time, farmers are able to crossbreed different strains of, foods to create a stronger, more resilient, more fruitful type of a product. Ultimately, the push for GMOs has been to try to improve the growth of the plant, to improve their nutritional content, to work and bolster their pest resistance, and then also make it easier for farmers. What's kind of shocking is that in the United States, a lot of GMO crops are actually being utilized. In fact, 90% of all soy, cotton, and corn have been genetically modified in some way, shape, or form. In fact, it's actually estimated that 80% of the foods that we consume here in America have some sort of ingredient that has been genetically modified, which is a little concerning. The FDA has deemed them safe, but ultimately we do not know the long-term effects of consuming foods that have been genetically modified in this way compared to selective breeding. Truthfully, the person who benefits the most from this is the farmer, because it makes the farmer's life much easier, and producing crops that have higher yields means more income flow for them. But where there's real concern for us, the consumer, is around the issues around illness and allergies. Have you noticed that more and more people have allergies anymore than what they ever used to? Could consuming GMOs over a period of time be part of the reason as to why that's actually happening? We'll discover that in a little bit. I'm curious, did you know that that is kind of the main reason for modifying our crops, making things easier for the farmers, trying to reduce pesticide use, and trying to increase nutrient content within the plants? Did you have any idea that that's why they're saying they're doing GMOing? Just let me know down in the comments below what your thoughts are, what you know about GMOs. If this is new, or if you kind of already knew that the person who benefits most is kind of the farmer and the one who's behind the scene of the GMO process itself. We're going to shift over into the hidden dangers behind consuming GMO foods. I've already kind of alluded to this initially, but there are some safety and concerns around this. Now, first of all, when Monsanto came out and was talking about Roundup and genetically modifying our crops so that they were resistant to the pesticide, the explanation that was given that I found was that humans don't have enzymes to recognize what these substances are. Therefore, they will not try to digest them and bring them into the bloodstream. It should just pass through the digestive system. That is very logical in thought and should be what actually happens. However, research has shown that about 80% of Americans have guts that are allowing substances into our bloodstream that are not supposed to be there. That also includes GMOs. So long-term impact of exposure to GMOs, one of the major areas of concern is heightened allergies. And like I was mentioning, if you look all around us, there are more and more people that are dealing with allergies now than what they ever have been in the past. Could that be the result of consuming GMO foods? Maybe. Another hidden danger and concern that they haven't been able to provide a solid answer to yet is, does it actually increase your chance of ending up with cancer down the road? This partly comes from with GMO modification, it's altering genes. And the concern around this is that by being exposed to this, that it could somehow alter the DNA of people. Now, there aren't any long-term studies to back any of this, so there's no way to really actually know. But if you think about it, it's a foreign substance that's coming into the body that has no business being there. If it gets into the bloodstream, the immune system is going to respond, and who knows what that's going to end up looking like or entailing. I would rather not be putting them into my system if at all possible. There is also environmental concern, partly around the idea of, like, if we're trying to make crops that are more pest resistant, the crops aren't the only thing that are being modified. The pests are also now becoming more resistant to the pesticide. And here's part of the thing. So crops that are resistant to Roundup, there's supposed to be a reduction in the pesticide that's being used on the crop. But what we're coming to find out is that there's actually a huge amount of pesticide being used on these crops, and that pesticide gets absorbed into the plant that then you end up consuming. So now you're consuming not only a genetically modified organism plant, but you're consuming high amounts of pesticide. Now, why are we having to use so much pesticide on these crops that maybe are supposed to produce their own, like corn is supposed to produce its own pest resistant? Part of it is because the pests are becoming resistant to the original pesticide. You're going to create superbugs. It comes back to the same process that happened when we were putting everybody on antibiotics for anything that they actually were coming in with. You were exposing the bad guys to your weapon. And eventually, because they want to survive, they have to adapt. They have to, modify what they're doing. They have to strengthen. And now you get these strains that are resistant to what we've been using, just like with bacteria. That's a problem. So that's kind of the environmental side of this, is that we're creating more pest-resistant type of pests. Like, we're creating super pests, just like we were creating super bacteria as a result of dousing them with all of these pests and constantly exposing them with these pesticides. The other side of that is the consumer. Like, for example, there is great debate on why do people have so many issues with gluten here in America. There's the one camp that thinks that it's because we've altered gluten so much, and now the wheat that it comes from, that wheat in ancient grain days only had 12 chromosomes and now it has 48. And then there's the same argument of, we don't have an enzyme that directly understands what that is, so we're not being able to digest it and process it, and that should be fine. It should pass through the system. But that's assuming that the system is actually working correctly, and majority of people's systems, guts, are not. And then there's the other camp that it's not necessarily the gluten that people are reacting to, but the amount of pesticides that they're being exposed to, and they're reacting more to the pesticide. What I can tell you is my people who have issues with gluten-containing products here in America can go outside of America, say over to France or down to South Africa, and they can consume products made with wheat flours and have no issues at all, even though they're consuming gluten. Part of it is they're using an entirely different wheat, so that side of, it used to be 12 chromosomes, now it's 48. That's not completely off the table. But they also are not using GMO crops and dousing everything in pesticides. So the pesticide theory is not off the table either. Ultimately, that creates major problems for people and for our ecosystem. Now, before I get into the way that you can actually detect and identify where GMO foods are in the grocery store, I want to just remind you real quickly to click that subscribe button down below and turn the notifications on. That way you don't miss out on a future episode. I am regularly producing videos on everything to do with health and helping you be able to take back control of your health so that you can achieve what I call total body mastery. Have high quality, lots of energy, be basically invincible as you continue to get older, age gracefully. So just click that subscribe button down below and turn the notifications on and you will be set. Awesome. Now, what is the best way to actually identify GMO foods? Well, technically, they're not required to be labeled at this point in time, though. That is the change that is being made come January 2022. The labeling of our foods are going to change, and it's supposed to include if there are GMO ingredients within that product. We'll see how that works. If you're in the produce section, there's a couple of different things you can look at on the tags that have all the numbers. There are, if it begins with a 4, it's a commercialized crop, and more than likely it's been GMO'd. Okay. If it begins with an 8, then it's supposed to be organic. Organic doesn't always mean non-GMO, just FYI. And generally, if it's a 5-digit number or it begins with a 9, it's supposed to be a genetically modified crop. So the best out of produce right now is to stick with everything that's certified organic if you want to really decrease your potential exposure to genetically modified organisms. Outside of that, we got to hope and pray that this new labeling that's going to be required coming January 2022 actually really clears the air for all of us. That way, those who want to steer clear can, and those who don't seem to have issues with it can just go on with life. Fantastic. Now, here's the thing. Part of this whole thing, this whole process and this journey of how do we increase our overall health and well-being very much so revolves around the food that we're eating. If we stick to just how things grow in nature, the way God intended them, and we stay clear from things that are in packages and that have been processed, you're going to be doing yourself so many favors. I know that sometimes that is not easy and food can be a daunting task for people, but the key is in prepping, okay? I have for you down below in the description, if you click on it so it expands out, I have for you a free 7-day full body reset meal plan, which actually will feed your body what it needs to help remove any of this junk it's been exposed to while leveling up your health. And here's the awesome part about this. You don't have to cook every single meal every single day, because who has time for that? Nope. This meal plan was designed for people who are busy or for people who really don't like cooking but know they need to. I've got a grocery list in there for you as well to make life super easy while you're doing either Instacart or you're at the grocery store yourself. And then I've included all of the recipes that you can swap out proteins if you want to. Know that there are minimal ingredients and you can make these within moments, so nothing will have to be labor intensive. That way you can really put the whole process of improving your health on fast forward by eating not only foods that are not genetically modified, but foods that help make your body thrive and help you achieve optimal health and well-being. Again, click the description down below, make it expand out, and find that full body reset meal plan, and you will be on your way. I appreciate you. I hope today's video was helpful, and I look forward to seeing you on a future one. God bless.